So with that, I'll defer for just a moment while we see whether we can connect with us, and then we may have to pick up. Bear with us for a moment. Those of you at home, just bear with us for just a moment. We're just trying to make sure we have all our members at the meeting are connected properly. So just bear with us for a minute.
It's not my first rodeo. All right, so we're gonna get underway. For those of you who didn't hear, Rob is not feeling well, will hopefully join us, through Zoom in about 15 minutes. But, our special 40B attorney has assured me that we're fine proceeding. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order and we'll take attendance. So please indicate that you're here or present. Mr. Delisle.
Here.
Mr. Bennett.
Here.
Mr. Ackerman.
Here.
Myself here, that makes 4. This is not a public hearing. This is just a continuation of our deliberations from our meeting on December 15th. So we won't be taking any public comment, nor will we be discussing it with the representative of the applicant. We were all sent a 31-page document that was worked on by the 2 gentlemen here, Andy Port and our attorney. And I think, Andy, we could probably throw the floor over to you guys. I don't know who wants to start this, but
Sure.
how would you like to proceed?
Well,
I think maybe you can do your thing, but we should talk about the process here because the reality is decision came in at like 3 a.m. on a Friday morning. I had limited time to review it, so I do have additional comments that we will need to put in. I know Jared has reviewed it and has some additional comments and so they're definitely going to be edits between now and what we finalize. But we should also spend this hearing talking about the issues that really require discussion as opposed to, yeah, let's have 30 days for review here or something, let's focus on the most important issues,
If I could just add to that, I agree. I think I'll leave it to you all, obviously, as a board, but I think it would make sense to cover the larger, more substantive things first if possible. I think, certainly the intersection was a point of discussion, obviously, for the board, whether we want to cover that first or not. But I think obviously we've been one way or another, we should definitely discuss that and confirm how you want to handle that tonight so that the written decision, as we modify it, presumably for a Wednesday continuance, has everything as you want it to be, particularly for that one. And then I think sort of down the totem pole, sort of from there, I think we just sort of skim through the comments that folks, anyone has, relative to language or substance, sort of the rest of it, I think that would make sense throughout the document, as long as we've covered all aspects that any particular areas that folks have, then Garrett and I can work together between now and Wednesday to make sure all that's incorporated accordingly, but defer to you on how much you want to go in depth on each sort of comment or area.
Is everyone comfortable with that approach?
Yeah.
Okay, well then proceed.
So I think we should talk about the traffic mitigation condition.
Yeah, so as the board knows, there's a couple of different drawings in the file, and I have them all sort of up here, if you will, for sort of a reference. I think the main thing is because the way I would look at it is because there's not a drawing that shows exactly precisely, I think the parameters perhaps the board wants to see here, it would make sense, in my view, it seemed to make sense to refer to one drawing as a baseline, as a starter point, and then making any tweaks or clarifications off of that as to what might be expected in the quote final plan or improvements. That might be the cleanest way to go. Again, I'm thinking also from a practical perspective, how an engineering team or city officials down the road would need to sort of verify compliance or consistency. So again, defer to the board on the improvements and the references in there and so forth, but essentially we have all these plans up for tonight. And there were a few particular design details that you may want to touch on just to make sure we're on the same page, but everything collectively together, including things like curb to curb, pavement clearance to allow those dimensions, for instance.
Is there one particular drawing you suggest we use as our base plan or base drawing?
Yeah, so I believe this is the drawing that I had used. It's the this drawing that shows the left turn lane with the pedestrian crossing island, and there's a question here about the 2 foot versus 4 or 5 foot shoulder. I know that came up in discussions. But this accommodates that with a, oh, I'm sorry, this is the rapid flashing beacon. It's the same layout. Yes, here we go. Yeah. So with the hot, sorry, I had the one with the RFB.
So I think the basis for this is Kevin, our consultant engineer, wrote a memo, I think it was 27, is that the right date?
Sounds right, yeah.
Where he referred back to what Jeffrey Dirk provided on 1022, which was like the 3 or 4 alternatives. And he pointed to one,
Right.
the left-hand turn design in particular, and said, "He's comfortable with this, subject with some surroundings." And that's what we're going to talk about.
Wasn't that the one with the 5 foot shoulders?
Yes.
Okay, is that what we're looking, I can't see it. Is that what we're looking at? Are those 5 foot shoulders?
These are 5 foot shoulders shown on the drawing here, right here and here.
Yeah.
And before we get into the details, so one of my notes on this is, I just want to make clear, because it's not stated in this, that
Yeah.
all this work will be taking place within the existing right of way. There's no requirement in this
Right.
condition to acquire additional property rights. So
You can see the blue line right
that's what
here.
it shows.
is the-
But I'm just wondering.
And this one does not show a refuge island, so just again, irrespective of where the board lands on this, just making sure that everybody's comfortable here on the board about what those improvements are, whether it's a 2 foot shoulder or 5 foot shoulder, or refuge island or not, things like that. You may want to just make sure you're clear enough on.
Just to be clear, this is not the picture that you referred to in the draft decision that I have in front of me. It's something.
So this
Yeah, I guess.
is two.
That one is identified as submitted by the applicant's traffic.
Yeah, so
That's
this-
conceptual.
This is the drawing here, 1022, that I referred to in the draft.
This is,
This is the one that I referred to in the draft.
Okay.
And the notable just piece that I thought perhaps wasn't clarified, again, based on the discussions I'd seen to date anyway, was the absence of refuge island. So I just wanted to point out the fact that based on some other discussions, if something was added and for some reason affected the lane width or otherwise, then the board may need to adjust what the expectation is from curb to curb. Just
fine. I just wanted to make sure we were sure what exhibit we're referring to in the draft document. Consistent with the document we're.
Right, when you look at Jeffrey Dirk's memo, the only refuge island is in one of the hybrid.
right,
So that's flashing beacon. Yeah, there you go.
which is this one here.
So it's much closer to Port Plaza, main driveway.
Correct.
There you've got a wider, we call it median section.
Right.
But if, in the plans for the top, the walkway's farther down. And the median's slimmer. There isn't really anything showing a 6 foot wide median with 5 foot wide shoulders and 11 or 10 foot wide. I guess 11, they're doing it 11 foot wide, roadways.
I'm glad Gareth mentioned that as well. The distance from the intersection was another factor, of course. We just wanted to make sure the board understood that there was a, you know, a spectrum there, and this one was quite different in terms of its distance from the intersection. Um, the odd thing about that just being the natural path that pedestrians might take, you know, may be more inclined to go in this direction for destinations and things that are down here than say diagonally going this way. So it resulted in a potentially sort of an odd zigzag potentially. Um, my understanding in talking with Kevin was that you could have essentially 2 cars distance from here, and that would be generally sufficient to have the placement of it, meaning this could effectively be brought closer to the intersection, which I think is what this is sort of based on.
Well, can we take those, one at a time?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's helpful.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and going from your draft, so I'm on page 18, I think it is, or. First, you know, there were 4 of us at the previous meeting that said we wanted the 10-foot wide turn. So that's correct. And then I did understand that there would be 5-foot shoulders on either side. That everyone on board with that? Okay. Then the next thing, Romanet 2 says pedestrian hybrid beacon, AKA Hawk. We're all down with that. And then Andy, you wrote in allows for 1 to 2 vehicles to wait at the new stop line on Low Street eastbound. Don't you mean, do you mean eastbound?
Yeah, you meant eastbound, I guess what he was pointing
You
to
mean
was
across
between-
the intersection?
yeah, once you get through the intersection, one here and here before you reach it, and again, there's been numerous discussions, of course, of this stuff, both in the board
Yeah,
and
yeah,
otherwise, but
okay.
I think the question here is just because it was so far over this way, how far further back did you bring it?
Yeah.
With it still being sort of within consistent policies for traffic safety.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, intuitively, it makes sense. You want to have it as close to the desire line of pedestrians so that they don't jaywalk. That's true.
Right.
But we have to defer to the expert. If he says, he told you 1 to 2 cars, okay? I mean, we don't know, or I don't know what the right distance is. What do you guys think?
Purely a decision that has to be grounded in our, expert,
Yeah.
and traffic expertise.
Yeah, when they go to build it, they're not gonna build it the wrong way, right? I mean,
Well, I mean, they have to build what we approved, so what we'll have, we can instruct Garrett to write the language so that it's, you know, subject to our transportation department's adjustment.
So I have a question, I'll make sure I follow here. I too agree that this is the right picture, because it has the right widths,
Yeah,
5-foot shoulders and
Yeah,
things. So what I hear you saying is, take this picture and take the crosswalk that's there and move it to the left.
Yeah.
So as to just leave like 2 car lengths rather than there's a
To
lot.
the intersection.
To the intersect. Oh, you'd move it all the way to the
Yeah,
intersection?
but also, I'm not saying that. I got the 1 and 2 vehicles from the draft, which I think in turn came from our consultant, Kevin.
Correct.
Which you're saying implies moving it to the intersection or?
No,
towards the intersection.
toward the intersection, like on this drawing, you just shift it to the left,
Yeah,
but not, yeah, about where the red is. That
Okay.
that Andy is right there.
So 1 to 2, well, I mean, the vehicle's like 13 feet on average.
Well, again, the engineers will have an agreed, you know, standard of what he needs. I mean, it doesn't. I'm not gonna stipulate the distance. I'm gonna leave it up to them.
you're happy with the 1 to 2 vehicles?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I mean, what I really want ideally would be right at the corner, and that's what I'm used to seeing for a pedestrian, but it sounds like that's not possible.
Well, there was some, I believe that there was discussion about like how Hawk works and where it needs to be.
Yeah,
We-
no, I remember that, yeah. Yeah, I got you.
So that's why these are moving.
I mean, the fact is, if this goes, you know, once the decision is out there. And if the engineers on both sides figure out that it's in the wrong place, they can come back and we'll fix it, but we should write it as flexibly as we can.
Sure, agreed.
We know it's to the right of the intersection, to the east of the intersection, ideally 1 to 2 cars.
What, I'm confused on the 1 to 2 cars. Where would the 1, 2 cars start and end? I'm confused.
Right in here, so you're heading eastbound this way. and
So
you
the
have
cars,
a car
are coming eastbound from Story Avenue, I mean, from Story
Okay,
Avenue.
so what you're,
They've crossed the driveway. They
Yeah,
cross the
they're already
drive.
beyond the intersection.
Okay, so they're in that area
Yeah,
that,
that's
there we go. There's the
something
two
like
cars,
that.
Yeah.
two cars, all right.
I mean, I don't know how Garrett's gonna write it, but he can write it so that that's what we're looking for. Subject to engineering, safety, blah, blah, blah.
Why are you looking for 1 to 2 cars as opposed to fewer?
Because that's what I got that from Andy. I'm not looking for 1 to 2.
Yeah, just to clarify, I wasn't taking a position necessarily as to where it is. I did want to point out that it's a little awkward to have it offset so far, and in that discussion, that exchange with Kevin, what essentially he had explained was that you could have it, essentially Jeff Jerk's drawing here shows it further away from the intersection than perhaps it needs to be, or, could be. And so Kevin had noted the fact that you could have essentially 2 car lengths between the intersection and that crossing and still have it be essentially safe, if you will. In general.
Why don't we do that? I mean, like, this is, we know it's between where it is on that picture
Right.
and the main driveway, right?
Yeah,
Right.
So let's have the 2 consultant engineers agree on a placement within
that's
that
fine.
spectrum.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is,
Right.
in sliding the trombone. I personally agree with Andy that pedestrians are used to crossing at a corner.
Right,
So I'd like to get it as close to the driveway as possible, but if the 2 engineers say it has to be 30 feet, 35 feet, 32 and a half feet, so be it. I defer to them.
so you just need to add a phrase,
Yeah.
unless the engineers from both parties agree with a different placement. So,
Maybe say something effective approximately, right? And then we
Yeah,
leave it to the.
I mean, in other words, if you guys agree, I want all everyone to agree. If you don't agree, we won't do it, but ideally, we wanna have it as close to the driveway as possible, but that's subject to the engineers telling us. how
why don't we
close
say just that, as close as possible,
Yeah, so
as long as the 2 engineers agree.
They say it's 2 cars, 3 cars, 1 car, whatever. We don't know.
So Andy, are you comfortable with the wording to accomplish what you just said?
I think Garrett and I have enough work with there.
Garrett will figure it out.
Are you guys all comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Because this is one of the most important
It is,
things.
it is, but as long as we all agree, we'd like to have it closer, but
We do. I think you're right, because people are, they're coming down it doesn't show the new building here, but they'll be coming right down the edge of that.
yeah, it's just human nature.
And it's human nature to go across.
Right, so in order to get them to actually use the holiday. we
Right.
want them want to be close.
Okay. Okay, so
All right,
what
so
else, what else do we have?
Well, the median, and so that's a good point.
The
Like,
refuge island?
Yeah, I mean, the question is whether you really
You need it.
need it.
Yeah.
If you have the hawk light. The idea is that everyone stopped, so. You need instead you already have yellow striping. I don't have a position on that. How do you guys think?
How about you
You
guys?
kind of felt suspended by sort of needed at this point with the hawk.
Yeah, I was trying to think of an instance somewhere else in town where there is a refuge island like that, and the only place is really like up on Story Ave, right?
The
Where?
one I'm thinking of is Route 1 bypass down by Pomodori,
Yeah, as you get into
By
the
Parker
rotary,
Street.
yeah.
but the speeds there are higher. Well,
Yeah, and
they're
the
higher.
And there are 2 lanes on either side effectively.
wider, yeah, much wider,
Yeah, and also by, these lanes are gonna go down to 11 feet, is that right?
Yeah,
yeah. That was, my point was gonna be that where you see those sort of refuge aisles, you are in locations where you have 2 lanes of traffic on each side. So maybe
I
here,
agree with you, I don't feel a need for this configuration to require.
yeah, I also don't feel the need, I wanna go to bat for the left turn lane and the wider road, but I don't feel the need to pile on with a refuge island.
And some people know. And I think that's a big idea, but Kevin did mention. And
Well, did he
well, a
though?
bunch of other things.
He did.
Where, I mean, tell us, I don't
You
wanna,
wanna go through the memo, just so you know? I just want people to make this decision in light of what is.
He said in the minutes, I have the minutes to our December 9th meeting.
okay,
And he said the widening the road would make room for a refuge island, which would further enhance pedestrian safety and calm traffic.
okay. All right. So, and there's definitely room for a refuge island in that yellowed area, that's not a problem.
It would appear so from this drawing perhaps, but I feel like I remember there being a discussion about whether or not there was another foot or two sort of clearance or distance might be needed between the curving. Again, it's, these aren't precise dimensions here. It looks, like you could perhaps fit that in here, but it might be tight. So my recollection is that this might require like another foot or two of widening between the curves to make it work.
Well, it may, another, I wish we had the consult in real time, and we can't. What do you guys want to defer to Kevin?
We can't defer to Kevin, can we?
Well, you could say, on width and dimensions.
Of the refuge island.
Yeah, you want a refuge island or you don't, I mean, I
The board doesn't have to necessarily take that, it's.
No, we don't
one
have to.
Specific recommendation, it's up to you.
I just want the board to make a decision knowing, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that you should do it because Kevin said, he listed a whole bunch of things that some of which I don't think you're gonna do.
Okay,
So you might want to go through that list, but exercise your own judgment in light of, you have testimony from Kevin, you have testimony from Jeff Dirk, and sorting between the two.
I guess my question to you is, this is the area, the left turn lane, where we're following Kevin's advice. I remember their guy said it was a matter of convenience and our guy said it was a matter of safety. So we are taking his advice. Can we be selective here and not take his advice on the refuge island, or should we be consistent? Or does it matter from a legal perspective if this thing all winds up at some hack meeting someday?
Well, if it ends up in a hack hearing, we're gonna have experts here to testify to something, every expert has to deal with that. Jeff, I know Jeff Dirk's been on record saying things different from what he's saying in this hearing. Every expert has to deal with that. So I would say your job is to weigh the two testimonies, right? Not necessarily wholly adopt one or the other. Weigh the two testimonies of both experts and decide what you think using your judgment is appropriate.
But does it weaken our case to ignore his input on the refuge island? In defending the widening of the road and having a left turn lane? No, okay,
Don't see why it would.
all right. Other questions, comments on this
I
refuge?
guess I just want to find where he put in writing, where he put in writing the refuge island. It does ring a bell, but.
Let's, let's pull up the 1027. We may as well go through this while we're at it.
Hey, by the way, Rob has joined us.
Hey guys, sorry for the delay. I didn't realize. I don't know how I missed it. I just didn't realize we were on for tonight, and I was mending what's left of a flu, so I'm going to be here via Zoom. But I've been listening.
Well, I'm glad you could join us remotely, and good luck on getting over the flu. I had it.
Yeah. No, it's the tail end. I worked from home today, and
It's the October 27th. No, sorry. You gotta get one that's dated October 27th.
I'll have to go grab it off the, I don't think.
It's in the,
Yeah.
yeah, it's on those.
I mean, another use of these islands is to channel the cars too, so they don't cross over the old line. So maybe use that.
Alright, so,
Yeah.
there we are.
And those are, so he refers to the. If you go to the prior page. Look, all the way at the bottom. He refers to the hawk signal left turn lanes. Concept plan, which is what we are looking at, okay,
Yeah,
and then go. to
Scroll
the
the
next
next
page,
page.
and those are all was recommended.
This
Yeah.
is where he says the median.
Yeah, the 27th.
in the vicinity of the hawk crossing.
Anybody know how, once the hawk is activated, how long the blinking lasts?
I don't know the answer to that, so.
I'm sure you can adjust it, but I mean, I came across the one on Merrimack Street just today. And it's It's plenty long. It's long enough for a couple pedestrians to get across.
I'm sure it's adjustable.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm sure.
Okay.
Well, look, I don't know what you guys wanna do. I mean,
I don't know, what are we referring to? What does it state there?
It's
I
number,
can't read it.
Number 8,
Number 8, construction of a curved raised center median island in Low Street in the vicinity of the Hawk crossing with supplemental push buttons for pedestrian activation. This will slightly extend the planned widening improvements along Low Street just east of the center driveway beyond what is shown in VAI's concept.
How wide will this pedestrian,
I believe
Island
about
be
6 feet.
6 feet
I think
long?
it's about that wide, yeah. I think my recollection was it was only a matter, it was a couple of feet of widening further of the roadway. That was, that would have to be done here for additional length essentially to make, because it narrowed down there. And so you have the two lanes coming together. The wedge that we saw there is just a little too tight, I think, to fit that island.
I don't believe that this island is necessary for any safety purpose. Uh, 2 lanes. The hawk can be set, I'm sure, with adequate time to stop traffic. And it certainly, everything is incremental. It's, would it be incrementally better? I don't know, perhaps, I guess you can't say no. However, with the hawk and the other improvements here, I necessarily think that's required.
I want to think about handicap access too, I mean, with an island, I mean.
What they do is they basically, they keep it at grade, they cut a channel through it. You don't go over it, there's a channel. Well, I'm with Greg on this one. I just don't think this is one where I wanna plant the flag. It's just not worth it to me. It's another cost and another complication. The benefit to the public, I think, is marginal.
Yeah. I'm there too.
I would agree with that.
If it was necessary later, it'd be a pretty easy.
Yeah, we're about-
Fix for the city, you know.
I don't know if Rob, you wanna,
Yeah,
I don't know if Rob, you wanna chime in on the refuge zone.
yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. I think I agree with, with what it sounds like are my colleagues' thoughts on it's, it's supplemental upgrade for sure, but whether whether the juice is worth the squeeze, I guess remains to be seen. Is that folks' sentiment, generally speaking? I mean, nice.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
We're gonna cut room in it.
I just want to bring up one other thing as far as where this crosses. Was part of the strategy of having it cross so far to the right, that there was a bus stop gonna be there? Was that part of the thinking, or is it just that the road is narrower there? I remember there being a bus stop over here in the discussion. I don't remember exactly where it was.
My recollection was that it had at least in part to do, and I was remembering the dialogue mainly being about distance from the vehicles that are going through the turning movement.
Okay, all right. So I think we've beaten that one to death. I don't want to bring it back up. So Jared, you're doing well there. Is there anything else in the wording you see that we need to tweak here?
All right, well, we've been through Romanet 1 and 2 and 3.
On page 16, right?
Yeah, the pages are different depending on whether you edited or not. Romanet 4 is sidewalks, reconstruction of sidewalks. First on the north side, so if this is the frontage. I mean, I assume I think we've been consistent, and so has the applicant, that they understand while preserving and protecting the existing street trees, they need to also keep a 6-foot sidewalk width. That's not controversial, is it?
No, I don't think that's pretty much understood. We were supportive of that.
Right, and then just like any project we have is significant, if they need to repair the existing sidewalk, which they probably do. That they'll do that. right? Yeah, I have that right. Any disagreement?
Yeah, no, Jared, I agree with you. I think to the extent to which there really is no sidewalk proper in existence now. I mean, obviously, one can make the argument that any improvement is a significant improvement, but I think this would create some organization to the sort of the multimodal movement, specifically pedestrians. People just do what they're going to do right now. They would continue to do whatever it is convenient and deemed to be quote unquote safe now, but this will organize, hopefully it'll seek to organize how pedestrians move in and around this space. So we're suggesting where people need to be, where wheels need to be, where pedals need to be, where feet need to be. I think that's a significant improvement, even if it's a little bit narrower than an ideal scenario. It contemplates the context of what we're starting with. You know, we're starting with an imperfect canvas down there, so we're just trying to make it a little bit less imperfect.
Okay, so does this finish the,
No, sorry. Next is Romanet 5, which is the south side.
Well, clarification, is this reconstruction or is this construction? I'm looking at that, it doesn't look.
Well, I mean, apparently there's a bituminous,
Yeah,
so it's not really a sidewalk. It's just somebody poured some asphalt. It's really a new sidewalk.
Okay,
But we have
they're
boilerplate.
ripping out the old asphalt and putting it into concrete.
Yeah, but we have
this says reconstruction on his line.
There's a lot of broken cover there. I was down there. I'm sure we all have been, but if we don't already, just know it. But it's broken and disrupted, to say the least.
And the length of the sidewalk would go from approximately where it is on the center driveway to wherever the bus stop is, and there's it.
Well, I mean, normally what I'm used to seeing is, first of all, it's just the frontage of the property for the sidewalk.
Yeah.
But then the engineers usually ask for the ADA ramps for the opposite corners.
Yeah.
So they probably have to go across to make sure that it's ADA accessible to get across the driveway. And that leads us to the next thing, which is Romanet 5 on the south side of the street. I don't think, personally, I don't think it's fair to make a developer do both sides of the street. It's one thing to make sure the crossing works. So I agree with that. So because they're putting in a hawk and a crosswalk, people should, when they get to the other side, they should be able to walk. So there needs to be something there, but they don't have to do a sidewalk as, let's see, equally wide. I mean, sorry, equally long is on the north side. That's not, I don't think that's fair.
so how long would you recommend?
Well, I think just to get, I think what they've shown, I mean, that's, this drawing was actually done by VAI.
Yeah.
So extend sidewalk, proposed crosswalk. So clearly that's what the applicant's engineer is anticipating too.
Right, but we're assuming that crosswalk's gonna be closer to the main driveway, and I'm assuming if that's the case, the sidewalk isn't gonna go as far.
No, it doesn't go,
It's
well,
just gonna-
hold on, but then we have Romanet 6, which is the new Neva bus stop. And I honestly don't understand where the bus stop is gonna go. No, gonna go. I mean, the sidewalk that we require on the south side of the street, if we're gonna require a bus stop, I assume we want the sidewalk to serve.
The condition as draft anyway assumes that there's still gonna be, I think, you know, as Gareth was mentioning earlier, some exchange between the engineers on this, and so they'd be talking with Neva about the design and place for that more specifically in here. There are some requirements they have spatially, but this plan obviously doesn't show that in great detail, so.
Okay, but I guess all I'm trying to say is, I don't think it's fair for us to say, which isn't proposed. You know, oh, you have to do the sidewalk on both sides of the street. That's not it. You have to do the whole sidewalk on the north side of the street. And then the ADA ramps across the center driveway. Right, and then you're done on the north side. And on the south side, consistent with the drawing by the engineer, they have to do enough sidewalk so that pedestrians can get across the street and wherever the Neva stop is. And I realize we don't know, because Neva's gonna tell us where to put their stop.
So you're saying on the south side, the sidewalk has to at least go from the crosswalk to the bus stop, basically?
If you're telling me
Crosswalk
that,
to the corner
To the
well, to the,
corner,
of the driveway.
To the corner?
isn't that the plan? Looking up,
I presume
Everyone
the
else-
intent of this drawing was at least to get to this driveway intersection here
yeah,
going.
but where's the,
Where-
where's the bus stop?
where's
Which
the bus
side?
stop now?
Which side? Where is it now? Where do you think it might go?
I don't wanna speak to the future condition because I haven't,
You have no
What,
idea.
where is it now?
Where is it now?
over here.
Oh, it's right there? Okay,
Well, that would work, right?
well, then it's fine. We killed two birds with one stone. Because
Sidewalk,
the same sidewalk serves both the bus stop and the
But,
crosswalk.
but if you're given the flexibility to move the crosswalk all the way over to the intersection, then you've just. There's very little sidewalk left, if it only goes from the
Well, that's why
crosswalk.
I'm saying, I don't, where, if you move the crosswalk, does that mean the Neva stop has to move?
Well, I think the way, and again, this is making this presumption that there might need to be, as we were talking about earlier, some shifting a little bit back and forth between the engineers themselves. So it says that meets the dimensional requirements as specified by MIVA. So if there's a clearance there, an offset from, say, the crosswalk or from the intersection.
How about this? I think we can get out of this quickly. So we all agreed that the western point of the new sidewalk is at the driveway, right? On the south side.
right,
Yes.
The point on the left.
The point on the left.
Yeah.
And then the easternmost point of the sidewalk on the south side of the street is not opposite the property, but the more easterly of the crosswalk or
Or the
the,
Nisa stop, yes.
whichever it is.
All right,
That way, if the engineers figure out, oh boy, we gotta move the Miva stop and it's gonna be
the other side.
further, okay, fine, then just extend the sidewalk. But that's it on the south side sidewalk.
With the north side sidewalk, could we just recap what we decided on that?
The entire frontage of the property and then the ramp
Okay,
to get to the other side.
got it, okay.
Now, they've driven a
So from
side
the east driveway to the center driveway and then across the center driveway.
and across the center driveway.
okay, that's not what this drawing shows. The drawing shows it stopping
Right.
up above. So you're saying that would
No, it
continue.
doesn't show, it doesn't show it
So we're
stopping.
down on the other side.
What's that?
No, Ken's saying that the
Oh, on
bold,
the
the
eastern
bold
side.
black line,
Oh,
yeah,
I see.
stops, it doesn't go the whole length of the.
Well, I think they, well, I don't know, but it seems to me, just like for any project, they have to do the whole frontage.
Yeah, yeah.
It's going all the way, the site plans show it going all the way.
Okay, this is just a detail that they did for the process.
That's true. There it is.
This is the civil.
There it is on the
this is
side.
the civil plan.
All right,
Yeah.
so that's.
Jeff Derrick's plan just doesn't reflect what's on the civil
Right,
plan.
okay.
So.
I mean, that helps them too, they don't wanna have it from the side.
All right,
All right, then the last one is, Romanet 7, application of pavement markings and signs, including the application of sidewalk and stop line markings. That's just the striping, yes, of course. Right? That's not controversial.
I agree.
That's it on those things. And
so Andy and Gareth, are you comfortable with going off and writing that up?
Yeah, I think it's clear enough for the board wants.
Okay, good. That's the hardest issue.
It was more detailed than we talked about last time, so that was good.
Wow.
Can I bring up just an issue I had in this last paragraph, under the Romanettes, there's two paragraphs, the second of the two, the larger one.
Mhm.
There's a sort of I don't know if I would call it a savings clause or something, but, there's a provision that says it shall not be a violation of the condition not to construct the low street, improvements under certain circumstances. I have misgivings about that, considering that this is the whole shebang at this point.
yeah, no, I flagged that too. I did, and the memo that Gareth sent us cited the land court case of Tracks Primrose School or something like that. Which dealt with this issue. So what they did in that decision is there was a finding by the zoning board that jurisdiction over the relevant portion of the street was solely within the city. And that's my understanding here. So we believe that they don't need any
They don't need
approvals
these
from the
things, okay.
state or federal government. So, I would suggest that we, because it's an unreported case, so it's not like it's an appellate case, but
Right.
at least it's something to hold on to. we should say that we find, the board finds that we have sole jurisdiction. And, but I would change it to,
Excuse me, let me just ask you.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the basis for that finding? I mean, is that a legal fact?
yeah, it is, because it's a county, it was a county road. And apparently when Romney eliminated the counties, the city took jurisdiction over it.
Okay, I mean, I'm certainly fine with that, putting that language in. I don't see the danger in the language in. I mean, if they can't get it, if they require a federal or state law and they can't get it.
Well, hold on.
I don't understand.
No, but here's
What's the concern?
the concern is, the whole ballgame on this was mitigating what
Yeah.
the board thought was a pedestrian and vehicular danger.
Understood.
So what I would change it, what I would suggest is, in the event that the applicant is unable to make the Low Street improvements due to the operation of state or federal law,
Yeah,
applicant shall apply to the board to amend this decision consistent with 760 CMR 560511. And that citation is for amendments.
that's good. I'll take
Yeah,
whatever,
that'll-
whatever amendment we can do consistent
If
with
they,
whatever law.
for whatever reason,
That's fine.
Mass DOT loses its mind.
Yeah,
Oh my God, we don't want you doing this, which I don't think they have jurisdiction.
Right.
I would still say.
Yeah.
That the problem with that is, if you have a condition, you can't meet it, you come to the board, you don't amend it. And they're in violation because you don't amend it, that's a
Yeah.
problem. So I think if, maybe you just have language saying, it shall not be a violation in the event the board does not grant amendment to. Address what can't be done or what have you, I don't know what the best language is,
Yeah,
but.
but the problem is, again, as so far as, we just spent 6 months on this, and all of the testimonies from the neighbors, from the public, city councilors, and our guy, Kevin, is about this condition. Yes, of course, if for some reason we don't expect it, because there's no actual jurisdiction of which we're aware.
We don't know.
But if there's some wild card, thing that happens, and Governor Healy steps in and says, you may not build this hawk, I don't know. We have to come up with another way to mitigate.
Right.
So I don't think it's enough just to say, oh, it's not a violation, go in peace. I don't think that works. I think they have to come back to us. We have to find out another way to mitigate.
Yeah.
Why don't you just add a proviso over that? Obviously, they're not required and obligated to, they can't violate state and federal law. I mean, it's axiomatic.
Yeah.
Would it make, just to defer you, obviously, in speaking to this particular language and condition and to our legal counsel, but should we put something perhaps with that or just after, just clarifying that the intent here in revisiting this is to essentially try to accomplish as much as is feasible without the encumbrance that they may have encountered essentially, so.
Well, I guess what you could add to the language, and I already sent this to Gareth, is applicants shall apply to the board to amend this decision consistent with blah, 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 to mitigate in another manner or something.
Right,
That's the
right.
intent. We're not trying to kill their project. It's just that if somehow some outside act of God destroys our mitigation measure, we need to come with another mitigation measure.
Yeah, well, I thought maybe we could put some language that said something to the effect of that they would continue to work with the engineering department until such time as said approvals are obtained or the issue is otherwise resolved or something like that.
I don't think this one, like you said, I mean, this has been the whole 6 months we've spent. I think they have to come back to the board. We have to, in many ways, it would be very convenient for the 5 of us just to say, oh, we'll just deal with staff.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's gonna fly. I think, you can remember there was one guy, I don't know, he was like, well, you should build a pedestrian bridge. Remember that? Right? So I think we need to weigh in. If they can't do this, we need to deliberate under, and there's a CMR section on it.
So it sounds good to me. I mean, Garrett, do you see an issue with what he's proposing? You seem to be uncomfortable.
Not really, I mean, my preference is, I just don't wanna put the applicant in a position where they're in default of an agreement or a condition. Because something is outside of their control, right? That, and none of us do that, right? So what Jared is presuming is that. When they come back for an amendment saying we couldn't do it, whatever reason, this is what we can do, the board is feasibly gonna approve that. Great.
I think legal impossibility is a defense to any default agreement.
Yeah, I mean, I mean,
You'd be shocked.
I think if they put in the, again, if, what I was sending you was the mitigation language. If you say, if the way Andy suggested, you make it clear, the reason they would have to come back is to figure out another way to mitigate our finding of impact. That's all it is.
I think without that clarification, the way I read this is that if one of these things becomes infeasible, then the entire thing becomes infeasible, and then that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have nothing done, right? So the idea is you're revisiting it here, and it might be one or two features or adjustments that have to be made to address whatever encumbrance they may have encountered. But you're then be able to revisit and have presumably 90% of or 75% of the safety improvements that you were incorporating are still covered to some degree or some way. And you're essentially, get the explanation of what they ran into and how that affects the plans.
Gerard's language is acceptable. It brings the issue back to us. We'll be constrained by whatever constraints there are legally. And we'll do whatever we
The hack would
can.
never let us kill the project. That's, they're gonna say, your mitigation measure
Right.
doesn't work. Come up with a
Look for the
new
new one, yeah.
Right.
There was a case where the expert traffic said you need a left-hand turn lane.
Yeah,
And the board also took the position that you can't construct a left-hand turn lane, and therefore you need to cut your number of units in half, because that's as much traffic as you can handle, got the left-hand turn lane, so you see stuff like that.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not what we're doing. I mean, that's not the vibe.
That's not the vibe of this board,
No.
the vibe of this decision, I
Just
just
trying to make the project happen.
Yeah, and to me, we're talking about an unusual situation, it's very unlikely to happen, but Jared proposed a solution which other lawyers here seem to be on the board, seem to be comfortable with. So what I suggest is you guys write it up, we'll look at it on Wednesday, and hopefully we'll approve it. Does that make sense?
Let's do it.
Move
Yeah,
on.
we'll fight again on Wednesday.
All right, so,
We want Wednesday to be like I've read it, I'm comfortable,
I love it.
check the box, apply it, we're done.
yeah,
That's the goal, right?
exactly, we don't wanna have a long discussion Wednesday night.
That's fine, okay.
Now, were there other big ticket items you wanted to discuss before we go back to the page turning?
Well, I mean, generically speaking, I would suggest just touching base at least on maybe the signal post and mast arm.
Is that?
Oh,
I'll address that, because I'm the one who brought it up. Again, I got that from, can you put the October thing up again? I don't know if he had it there. The point is, I'm not gonna fall on my sword over the masts, and I'll tell you why. We don't really know if they're ever gonna develop across the street.
In his letter, sorry.
Yeah, it is October 20th.
Yeah, we don't really know if they're ever gonna build across the street. So I'm envisioning a situation where, even though we're trying to be efficient, say, well, if you're already digging up Low Street and doing street improvements, why don't you put up the masts? And I think that's what our consultant was thinking, so that they're ready.
Right.
But to me, it's too speculative. We don't have an application. Do we have an application for the project across the street? Is it imminent?
We do not. I mean, I think from a traffic engineer's perspective, it makes sense, however, in the context of the 40B and the permitting for this project versus anything that's not yet in the pipeline yet.
Right, so there's two things. First, I don't wanna load up more conditions of approval, when I don't have to, because it adds cost to the developer. And secondly, I'm envisioning having these ghost masts up for years with no lights on.
What is a mast? It's
Mast.
The pole.
The pole, okay.
So I'm not gonna fall on my sword over the mast. I don't think it's worth it. And I bet they're expensive.
Yeah.
Different would be the conduit. If they're digging underground because they have to wire for the hawk, they might as well envision making the conduit big enough. I don't know, 8 inches instead of 6 inches. The engineers will know in case someday they have to string more wires.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's hit that, I've run on quite a few conduits recently, I doubt it's that big.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying? So what I would suggest is skip the masts unless you guys feel different.
No, I agree.
All right, skip the mast.
I agree,
Just
absolutely.
make sure the conduit is of sufficient capacity.
To me, it's a little bit like the refuge island, it's just piling on something I'd rather not, I'd rather
It's
get
not
the
worth
protocol.
My advice is focus on what's most important to you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the safest route to.
Right, and but I also agree with the conduits, because it costs very little to lay that conduit there.
And the road's open.
I can see
Yeah,
that.
it's a piece of flat, it probably costs $100.
Which,
Big mass up.
Yeah, well, I raised it
Right.
because Kevin did, but again, just like the island, I agree with you guys, it's just to skip the masts.
The other thing I'd love to take off is the lead. You know,
Yeah, let's talk about that, again, that was sort of reflexive, like, I was thinking, what do you do for all projects, and, we've never had an apartment building this big. And normally in other cities, you're required lead certifiability, but two comments on that, first of all, it's just certifiability. The USGBC is a proprietary organization, and it's kind of a racket. And so, even in Boston, they don't make you actually get LEED certified because it's really expensive. They just make you fill out a checklist, and the checklist for LEED covers all kinds of subjects: water consumption during operation, sourcing of the construction materials, all this green stuff. Now, elsewhere in this decision, they mentioned passive house standard, which is I believe the applicants said they would do, so it's not controversial.
Passive what?
Passive house, which is an energy efficiency standard. Rather than loading up new buildings with mechanical and equipment to do HVAC, you do things like super insulate, so you don't have to use as much energy in the winter and the summer. And also, they agreed, and they're not challenging, that they are gonna do the stretch energy code.
Right, I remember that.
And in my personal experience, that seems to be what's important to Newburyport is energy efficiency. So if they're doing passive house and they're doing stretch energy code, I don't really know what value to the public there is to make them do a LEED checklist.
Did LEED ever come up anywhere in all of the input we got from any of the boards or any of the public? I don't remember it ever coming up.
I don't remember.
So I mean,
So I searched all the various app decisions and board decisions I have, that's never, to my knowledge, been required. So just.
Yeah. How do other people feel? Are you comfortable letting go of leads? Not that we ever had it.
I am.
Yeah, that's fine, I think, Jared's explanation is,
Yeah,
very.
But I do, but on passive house, there is an industry standard for passive house. It was originally German. And so there's like passive house US. I
Yeah.
assume that's what we need, rather than
They
just,
committed to doing.
okay, fine, right, well, then,
We can look and see if they reference an industry standard, if not.
Well, they
pretty
agreed to do
sure
that
Boston
with-
decisions have one.
They agreed at least to do the specialized code, which that's referenced in the city's ordinances. It's the most recent one that Massachusetts, the higher sort of level up,
Yeah.
up from the
And that
stretch code,
gives
the
you passive
specialized.
house, just so you know,
alright, good,
that gets you passive house.
moving on.
So,
how about the stretch code? Is that somewhere in this 31 pages?
No,
That's
what
the
we're talking about.
specialized, the specialized code is essentially an upgrade over the stretch
It's an
code. we had
energy code, it's
previously.
called the stretch
All right.
energy code.
So that's in the official proposal that would be.
Correct, yeah, they agreed to.
It's in exhibit C or whatever it is. Okay,
Again, I think it's a substance we care about.
Yeah, and if
I don't know
I'm not
if it's
mistaken-
house certification or something.
Okay.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, this is references again to the waivers piece. There's a clarification in that section about this because that question came up during the hearing process. Is this one provision of that chapter 5 that you plan on complying with? And the applicant said yes, and so this it clarifies in there, the applicant need to do this.
so I think we're done with leads. Is there,
I'm sorry, does that mean that are we talking about the condition not being in there, or are we?
Right, yeah, get rid of lead, we don't need it.
So
Right.
where we
You
have
have
like.
a different condition in here that cites passive house, and yet another condition which cites the stretch energy code. You're done.
So we had two.
Now, again, just so that everybody knows, there are aspects of lead that are other than energy. But, I personally don't care.
all right, so we've deleted that. So that's the last of the yellow colored ones, right? So now do we take it from the top or?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you want to talk about the waiver list first before we start.
I'd rather start at the beginning. I'll get for the waivers.
Do you want to go section by section, or how do you want to?
We'll just start on page 1 and go through it.
Yeah,
Boy.
don't read them, just ask if anybody's.
Anything on the procedural history?
Anything on page 1, folks? Going
Well,
once?
yeah, the only thing I had there, is I just wanted to define the final A&R plan. We do have a signed and stamped A&R plan. And we're gonna we're gonna act in lieu of a plan, sign it, endorse it. So I just wanna make sure we're all talking about the same plan. So I think we should define that term, and it's the one that they submitted dated, XYZ, signed by Gail.
Correct. There are a couple of, technically speaking, there are, I think, at least three versions of the plan, so to speak, that were submitted, at least by date. One was by Bowler, at least two were by this particular firm here. One is actually, labeled and clearly enough in the final.
But only one is signed and stamped.
Correct, only one is signed and stamped, and that's the one that's
That's the only one that
final.
matters, is signed and stamped.
Right, so the parcel is, essentially this line here in
Yeah.
front of that plan.
Are we gonna be signing this on Wednesday?
Yeah.
You have to.
The vellum?
Do you want to speak to the timing?
I mean,
We have the Mylar, so we can bring that on
I
Wednesday.
don't think we have the draft decision or something.
That's up to you.
Time by which you have to do it. You could do it and hold it,
Okay,
like the 20-day appeal period or
so
whatever.
anyway, you can add language here to be clear about what date and which plan we're talking about. Is there anything else on page one?
No.
Moving to page two.
Just so you know, I mean, we may have some weeks that we're not, I don't think we need to discuss every single.
No, I'm only talking about
Just-
material.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a material.
Subdivision,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
The rest of it's periods, commas.
Anything else? So nothing else in the procedural history, page two? Anybody?
No.
No,
Starting on page three, or at least roughly page three, the product and problem description.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So Arabic numeral 4, just again, make sure you're referencing the same final A&R plan. Same one, by Gail L. Smith. August 29, 2025, signed and sent.
Yeah. Okay, anything else under that section?
Well, on number 6, this is something I learned from Boston. I think you want to define the affordable units as affordable rental units.
Yeah.
Be consistent through the document. They're perfectly free to come back under state law and change it. But what we've approved are rental. So I think you should say that.
And with respect to the rental, I didn't notice in here that there was anything about the time or the period for which those units need to be rental. I thought it was
No,
30.
I saw it in there. It's perpetual.
No,
No.
perpetual affordable, but the
5
rental property,
different things.
the rental.
Development agreement, so agreement.
That's a contract between.
Yeah.
Between the developer and the mayor.
You can do, I mean, the law is that if they want to convert it to a condo, they have to come back, and that's a major change, and then you have to approve.
Oh, okay,
It comes back here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's not even a finding that you would make, say, that in the development agreement,
Well,
the,
development agreement has nothing to, I mean, they.
Oh, okay,
they-
okay.
Like the city and the applicant can bind themselves to whatever by a development agreement, and I think they should deal with that. That's not our business. But right now, they've applied for a rental project, that's all we've approved. If they ever want to change it, they have to come back
okay,
and modify this permit.
okay.
You can make that difference, because that's a phone.
But this,
Look, you could say it's gotta be rental for 100 years, they could still come back and ask for a modification of the permit under law, it doesn't make any difference, right?
why would it help us to at least echo what's in the 35 years? I'm kind of worried.
Doesn't hurt. I mean, you can or can.
Does it hurt? Does it help?
No.
You know?
I guess it does nothing.
Well, why would you?
No reason, just.
I wouldn't. I mean,
Yeah, I wouldn't
again,
either.
it's enforceable because we're not a party to development.
But there are.
We can say, we can make an acknowledgement.
Yeah.
The board acknowledges that.
Put it in the procedural history.
Yeah.
That doesn't-
City.
That gives it no binding or anything, so.
But we
Yeah.
can't, we're a party.
We don't have standing to enforce it. The mayor,
All right,
the mayor and the city council.
Forget it.
I'm surrounded by lawyers, fine. Anything else on that page?
But whatever you want, they can still come back and ask for a modification, and Housing Appeals Committee can decide
Right,
whether or not.
it's gonna come back and say, get rid of it.
Anything else on page 3? Page 4?
That brings us to findings.
The findings are just, we had the wrong date of the development agreement. It's November.
Oh. Thank you. Yes.
November 11th.
And there's some other date changes in here, but that's. We'll go through those.
On to page 5.
Yeah, well, under 16, and this is really for Garrett, but I just wanna. I'm always more comfortable when, instead of sort of making up our own language, this is about the waivers and it references exhibit F. I would really copy and paste from the comprehensive permit regulations promulgated by the state. rather than invent our own language. I mean, for example, this language talks about bylaws. We don't have bylaws. I mean, we're the city.
That's true.
So I would just, so I wrote and I sent it to Garrett pursuant to 760 CMR 56057, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Just say what they said in the state regs.
We're under
16. Arabic numeral 16.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
Okay, and the next one, 17. Again, I looked at the regs. The way it was proposed is notwithstanding waivers to local requirements and other adverse impacts to local concerns. I didn't see the phrase adverse impacts anywhere in the state regs, and I don't really see the need to.
Totally agree. I don't know where it came from.
Okay,
I agree with what you had to say
I
about
would
it.
just say notwithstanding the waivers, the board finds that the project will be consistent with local needs under the meaning of chapter 40B and the comprehensive permit regs. That's all we gotta say, right? That's it for Arabic,
Can we talk about? I just want to be clear on this, because we do make a finding that. The requirement in the aggregate will not be rendering the project uneconomic, right?
well, to our knowledge.
To our knowledge,
Because we don't-
I think our only basis for that is under the regs, if you propose a condition, the applicant has a right to say, hey, wait a second. That condition's gonna make my project uneconomic. I don't believe we ever heard that from the
There was
applicant.
no of them.
We heard stuff about, off-site conditions, and I don't think they ever said, you do this, our project will be uneconomic, so I think it's gonna be based on the fact that the applicant did not ever object to anything, or give us any reason to believe anything we did under the project uneconomic.
Yeah, so far as we know, of course, they reserve the right, and procedurally, they can, after we do what we do, they can make the argument and then,
Heck,
you know,
there was no evidence on the record regarding.
no, we haven't seen any performance.
Pending that, and
We haven't seen any performers, and there was no objection supported by a performer saying you made our project uneconomic. We should probably just recite that.
Yeah, all right, well, again, this does track to the extent that conditions do render the project uneconomic. Remember, that's the weird wording that they have in the state.
Yeah, I think that's gotta change at the end to say, imposing the same is consistent with local needs. Instead of outweigh the statutory, I don't really know where that language came from.
Okay, well, again, I think we're always safe if we just copy and paste from the regs.
Right. Which is
Why are we-
consistent with local needs.
Yeah, why are we reinventing the wheel? Just say what they say. All right, so now Roman numeral 4, Arabic 1, regulatory conditions. Nothing material. I didn't have any material.
In
Regulatory
the
conditions.
second sentence, the 25%, 53 units, we say will be affordable, should it be shall? Like these shall be affordable in perpetuity, right? I mean,
It's better practice, you're
I
right.
do typically use the word shall, not.
You're right,
Yeah,
it's
agree.
better practice
Yeah.
to show it's mandatory.
yeah,
So
it's in line 3, in the second sentence, beginning with 25%.
the other thing that I typically see in a lot of agreements, nothing's really in perpetuity. The law on this is generally for as long as the project does not conform to zoning. They have to provide the affordable units, or sometimes we add or for such longer period as may be allowed under the law.
Well, wouldn't we just say the life of the project?
I don't know what that means, that's not a technical, but there is a case.
For 40B, yeah.
If you've got a zoning exemption under 40B, or
Yeah,
as long as you need the zoning exemption,
Yeah,
you need to have the affordable units regardless of regulatory agreements or anything else.
so you tell us, whatever you have to do to word it. I mean, intent is as long as possible.
I'll reword that.
And then Arabic 2, prior to commencement of construction work on the property. I would just suggest we define that term, commencement of construction, because it comes up a lot later.
Yeah.
It's a magic date. So just define it. The moment they disturb the land, dig a hole. commencement.
Or demo is there, yeah, Kmart.
Well, that's different. If you really want to do that, that's different.
Well, I
Just
just
they
think
could demo the building and not dig a hole for quite a while.
Right.
There could be quite a gap in time. I personally don't have, I mean, there are situations where cities don't let developers demo the building until they have all this other stuff in place. That's true. But I don't know that that is the situation here. Like, this isn't downtown. It's a shopping center. If they want to demo what's been a vacant building for 7 years, do you really care? I don't.
As long as they stabilize it and secure it and do whatever they need.
Secure the
After
site.
demolition,
Mhm.
And that'll be a condition of a demo permit anyway.
Yeah.
They can't just, let people run wild on the site.
But I guess this raises the question, do we want to impose an obligation regarding construction? Regarding commencement of construction?
Well, we do. We've got a construction management plan later. We
Okay,
have all that stuff.
okay,
Yeah, and you
But
can
it,
find
but
it.
it, but it
yeah,
doesn't,
I don't,
that's what I
I
learned.
mean, cause that's governed by the reg, which says they have to complete within 3 years.
Oh, okay,
I don't know that.
okay, I wasn't familiar with, okay, thanks, sir, yeah, I didn't know that's in the.
3 years, or they have to
Okay.
ask for an extension.
That's good.
That's the reg.
okay, so, but under little b, this is the easement documents.
What page do you want, I'm sorry?
7.
I have one on 6 before we get to 7, which is 6 mentions up to 70% of the affordable units should be designated for local preference. I don't recall that ever coming up during this whole thing. Is that part of their proposal or are we?
That's in
Yeah,
there,
it
it was
came
like
up.
the first night.
It was noted in there that they'd be, willing to,
So
obviously.
this is won't be a surprise to them? Okay, I just don't recall.
It's pretty standard. I think it was
It's in the development agreement, it's in their application.
All right, I missed it, fine.
I do want to tweak the language, yeah, because ultimately it's state agencies call, we can't
Right,
tell them to do it if ELOC says you can't do it, so it's gotta be subject to state agency approval, but I think that's what we were trying to do, we just didn't really
Okay,
word it great.
Gareth, you're on page 7, go ahead.
Well, so little b is, I just changed the word, I suggest changing the order, so that's chronological. So before the sentence starts that the applicant is supposed to record the easement agreements, before they do that, they need to submit them to the board through its lawyer. So I would change it to, I just want to make sure you guys agree with the sequence. The applicant shall submit to the board through its legal counsel all necessary reciprocal and other easement agreements, blah, blah, blah. And then we describe what the easements have to do. And then I wrote, the form and the substance of all such easement agreements shall be subject to review and approval by the board's legal counsel to ensure their enforceability and consistency with this decision. And upon receiving such approval, the applicant shall record all such easement agreements. Further, it shall submit proof of such recording to the zoning administrator and the director. You could, if you wanted to, make them come back to us, but I don't know what that adds. If, so long as Gareth knows what he's looking for.
I looked, there are no draft easement agreements at all.
There's nothing to see presented as far.
But we know,
But we know what they're supposed to say.
What?
We know what they're supposed to say.
Yeah, we know what they're supposed to say.
And I think it's fair to say they've got to be enforceable by the board or somebody on behalf of the residents that to use this. So,
Oh, that's one thing I didn't put in, yeah.
yeah, I mean, we have to make sure they're enforceable.
Yeah, I have to be
By
enforced.
somebody.
Well,
Yeah,
you have that, the last line, to ensure enforceability.
Enforceability, yeah.
okay.
So I like, Jared's suggestions.
Sure.
Is everybody else okay with that?
I'm not going to be nitpicking the easements,
Moving right along?
You're not figuring it
that's not the board
Eric doesn't want
requirement. It's been a long time since I've nitpicked an easement.
pretty boring. All right, so then little c, same thing. There's nothing wrong with the substance. I just reordered the paragraphs so that, whoever's developing this project, the general contractors and all that, they know the order things go in. So this is about the final site plans. So the first thing, I wouldn't change the first paragraph. The second one is where I think you have to describe what they have to include.
Yeah.
The third paragraph should be final architectural plans. The building floor plans and all that, and then the 3 copies and blah, blah, blah. So that's it. I just reordered it. I didn't rewrite it.
But my only comment on this was, I think there's a missing word in the first sentence. Which should be for review and approval to ensure accuracy.
Yeah, okay.
Because otherwise it sounds like it's broader than it is, but really, the board is concerned that whatever those final plans are, they're accurate with the decision. That's our jurisdiction here, so. And the other stuff goes to like building department or building code review and stuff like that. So I want to add that.
All right, moving on to D dog. That's the passive house I was talking about.
I'm sorry, what page you on?
I have it as page 9, but I don't know what page it is for D dog. It'll be- D.
Oh, we have different page numbers.
Yes,
Yeah, that's G on my draft.
Yes, 8G on page 8G.
Are you?
oh, I see, yeah. Okay, yeah.
G.
I'm looking at a draft during the time we worked on doing that.
All right, we're at 8G. So what do you want to do to 8G?
That's just a reference to the passive house.
Oh,
My point would be, those are just kind of listed generically. Are there citations, references, or are you comfortable with that language? Or?
Well, that's what I was saying, is that, I mean, as I understand, passive house is a real standard promulgated by the Passive House Institution US. So if that's what we mean, we should say that. Otherwise, it doesn't mean anything.
All right, that means nothing.
sounds logical. You got that, Garrett?
It's just clarification.
Yeah, it's just referring
I
to
gave
the
the language to Eric. Yeah.
Under the Newburyport Code ordinance, section 5665, stretch energy code. Yeah, I mean, I'll take a look at stretch energy code. That may specify it itself.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, let's take a look at that.
Next.
Nothing material until. Until prior to issuance Arabic numeral 4, which I think should be Arabic numeral 3.
Right, this.
So it's really Arabic numeral 3.
Mhm.
That's the first thing.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, under little b, this is the water and the sewer connection permits. My understanding is, this isn't the betterment. It's not that. These are just the normal connection fee schedule. But under their development agreement, which you got references, they're not party to it. They also had an I&I fee. Under the development agreement, they're required to pay the I&I fee in effect at the time of the issuance of the first temporary permit certificate of occupancy. It's payable over 20 years at 4% interest. Do you guys want to say that? Do you want to just leave that to the development agreement? What do you want to do?
They did, I'm assuming it comes from ordinance, right?
The 20 years report was, yeah.
I think that's from an ordinance that they did not request a waiver, so, I mean, we could specify it, but it's not controversial. The only request is they do.
Well, I would, if you wanted to pay an I&I fee, I just think it's safer to mention it.
Okay.
Just because I&I fees are a fairly recent invention in the last 20 years. They're not the normal connection. Or a mitigation fee.
We can mention it.
That's all I had for Arabic number 3. Arabic number 5 is really Arabic number 4, during construction. Material. Nope, nothing material. Anything?
I'm looking at two different versions.
Well, if no one has anything, then the next one,
On number 5,
number 5.
okay, on number 4. The last one, C, the surety. I want to play with the language a little bit. But, you don't have to get into that now, but we're still gonna require. You know, surety for security and stabilization.
But you want, what is it you want a surety for? Just work in the public way?
Maybe I'm not thinking on.
The way it's written, it says, shall provide surety to the city prior to improvements being undertaken in.
Are you on, I'm on, 4C of the original draft, is that, you see that?
4E, page 10.
This would be 3E of your renumbering or.
Well, I think it's the only place the word surety appears, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it shall provide surety.
Except the one above it,
Above, yeah, there are 2 instances.
D and E.
Oh, there's 2 of them.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, so. Well,
I'm just gonna revise that language a little bit.
yeah, but I just want to be clear that the board understands. So the surety, the bonding, whatever,
All right,
letter of credit is only for 2 things. Work done in the public way.
Yeah.
And if there's some stoppage in work, they've got an open work site to secure the site,
which is E,
which is
That's
the next
E,
one.
yeah.
That's it. There's no other surety.
that public way work, that includes what we all talked about with the drawing and everything.
Yeah, it's.
Anything in Low Street,
Low
but it does not include, for example,
Street.
the stuff in the shopping center, all those sidewalks.
I get it.
Okay. All right,
Yeah, I can look up the word surety, but
it's a bond.
yeah, no, I found that.
I haven't written it exactly, but I'm just gonna, all I wanna do is give the applicant a chance to put together a plan first and an estimate of what that plan would be, and then give it to the engineer to review and approve and agree if appropriate on the cost of the surety based on that plan.
All right, what's next?
Prior to issuance of the first certificate of occupancy,
I got, well,
do you have something?
I just have during construction, I
Yeah,
guess
go ahead.
in section 5B. I just want to make, there's a reference to, it's a defined term, final site plans. Are we clear and understand what that
I
refers to?
think,
Yeah, that's earlier
I
on.
think I missed that. There were a lot of references to final site plans and.
All right, I
No,
just,
it's
What's
defined.
defined?
is it added?
It's defined, it's
Okay.
defined under
I just,
Arabic 2 prior to commencement. They have to submit final site plans.
Yeah.
okay, so it's a
But
defined
here,
term.
let me,
Just conform the definitional terms here, that's all. To the extent of that.
I just, but my quibble is, oftentimes there's a temporary certificate of occupancy. So you should, if you want something to be prior to the temporary, you should say so. Don't just say prior to first certificate of occupancy, say prior to first temporary or permanent certificate of occupancy. Sometimes there could be months and months.
no, I know, I've been
For
through that
years.
exact drill.
Yeah, years and,
150 Seaport, I did that project.
okay, that's.
They were temporary for like floor by floor for like 5 years.
Right, but
You know?
for years. So you gotta do that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's in my red line, but sometimes, there are faulty references to the, plans of record. The plans of record are what he has listed. So just make sure, we don't need to get into it, it's not material, just do a find and replace to make sure we're consistent.
Yeah, I think in general, I didn't have time to check every reference.
Yeah, I
So
got
we're
you,
gonna
yeah.
go through that.
And then the other thing is there are different operations and maintenance plans. So here, I have it under G, I don't know where it is in yours, but we talk about the stormwater O and M plan. There's a different O and M plan, so be careful.
He's about snow storage, I'm in the right area.
Yeah, if you get the, what I had is N as in Nancy, is the different operation and maintenance plan for the overall project.
That's right.
Water, it's not the stormwater system, it's the going in plan for the whole ball of wax.
Mhm.
So define a different term for that, so that the developer and the city don't get confused. And then, this is material, so under Romanet 1, this is the only place where I think we talk about successors and assigns. And I would strike it, and the reason why is because everything is successor and assigns, and then the regs, the chapter 48, 40B regs have a whole section about transfer, right?
You can and you can't, whether it's.
Right,
Probably
so
yeah,
I just think it's mischievous to mention it here, it's confusing.
trying to figure out where the hell it is. Where
Oh, it's under, it says,
And more.
Where is it?
under the snow and ice removal, shall be the sole responsibility of the applicant, property owner, and successors and assigns. I just don't see what that adds. I mean, everything is gonna be. There's a catch-all at the end of the document for
Right.
whoever their successor.
Yeah.
Right. Rather than just snow and ice removal, yeah.
Yeah,
I get-
exactly.
I get that. Okay, moving along.
All right, moving on. I just, it's not material. I just added language, Garrett, to make it your sole responsibility, private, so there's no ambiguity. I added a few sole cost of the applicants,
I haven't looked at the record, I didn't look at the record. Before we get too far, I'd like the number of electric vehicles or bicycle.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Did, were
I don't
those-
recall off the top of my head.
There were some numbers in there about this, spaces and whatnot. Do you wanna, you're talking about codifying that?
Still on the plan.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
to put in the number and I just. I
Yeah,
didn't
that could
really
be,
look. I
we
didn't- we need-
pull it in there.
Let's
somebody's
further-
gotta
let's
look through the
further
record
down.
and-
Okay.
and Put in the numbers.
We haven't got there yet?
That's a.
No, I haven't gotten there.
The future page.
Q, can you add the Q, additionally, a final as-built plan saying final, I don't see how that's any different from J. Can you just reconcile? We already talked about as-built plans.
There's. 3 or 4 instances where
Yeah,
we have duplicative requirements that need to be.
yeah, we can just merge that.
Okay, that's one.
All it.
There's others.
Okay, Roman, okay, Arabic 6, parking and circulation, so it's O. Oh, no, that's my error, so it's A, I'm sorry. I don't think you should say parking related to the project, I think that's way too vague. I think you should be specific, so, the required on and off-site parking. Just define it so no one thinks they're talking about anything other than the parking spaces that are approved with the project.
Well, wait, you know what? I mean, I don't know if you get this in condition, there are parking spaces that are not on the project site.
No, that's what I'm saying, on and off site.
Yeah.
But you can't just say related because, there's parking nearby that's not for the project, but it's like 2 feet away from the building.
Yeah.
Where is that?
It includes the project on and off.
Looking at that.
It's under, C, 7A, the project shall include parking related to the
Oh,
project.
I got it.
I just think that's a mischievous, because it's a shopping center.
Yeah.
Just be more specific.
The offsite project.
Yeah, just be more specific.
Yeah, you're saying we can look at the plans to determine that they're accessory and ancillary to the project, because we're
Correct.
directly on.
That's
there.
exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't wanna get, maybe the funny later, oh, well, these ones are also roommated, that's just. Okay, so then it's Romanet 6, no fewer than, just whatever the number of EVs that they showed on their plans.
Mhm.
Our consultant, we already said the number was fine, so it is what it is. But I think they were within the parking garage, probably want to specify that. Yeah. And then 7, it says work from home, if you go down to Romanet 7.
Yeah.
Work from home accommodations will be provided. Well, like Steve said, if you really want to require it, say shall. I mean, it's up to you. We didn't really highlight that in our hearing. But I understand why it's a TDM measure, so people can work from home. But don't you want to give a square footage? I mean, I don't care what it is, and they showed amenity space on their plans, so you don't need to make it up. Otherwise, it's so vague. I don't know what you're requiring. So if there's like a specific work from home amenity space in the building, and I'm sure the architect included one. Just say what it is.
Call it out.
Call it out.
Yep.
And then, same thing, secure bicycle parking. They submitted a number.
It's in the,
Yeah,
It's in the plan.
it's on the plan.
So all we gotta do is put in the number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for the last one, I just think, if you go to the end of this Arabic numeral section. Yeah, see that last paragraph? I understand what it's getting at. This is about the entrance and exit of the garage. I think you need 2 paragraphs, and I'm not gonna waste your time reading it to you, but I sent it to Garrett to consider. Because there's 2 things going on. One is, there has to be cars leaving, going west to the center driveway can only turn right. That's one requirement. And then otherwise, all cars have to exit east. You should say that if that's what you mean. The next one is a signage requirement inside the garage.
Mhm.
All right, that's all I have there. I don't have anything else
You're done?
on transportation.
Oh.
On signs. No, on signs, this is what I'm getting at, is so you don't have fights later. Because signs, people always want more signs. If their plans show 4 signs, which they do, I believe.
Good.
They had, and we know exactly what they look like. There's a marquee sign facing north, a blade sign on the northwesterly corner of the building, and 2 ground monument signs. You should say that.
And we have plans, correct?
Yeah, because otherwise, you're gonna get into a fight later. It's not worth it. Say what they proposed. Call it out, describe it.
So just list those 4 signs in A.
Is that what this is even talking about?
Oh, that's fine.
Says the applicant shall meet with fire department to review all address and unit signage.
That's inside.
Where are you?
That's,
You're on C.
No, I'm on C, you're on A.
You're, right.
I'm sorry, I'm down at C.
Yeah.
I know, I slow down to where you're going.
Yeah, I don't care about. the-
8C.
That's fire department stuff in A. I wouldn't touch that, whatever the fire department requires. I'm talking about C. So C,
got it.
don't just refer to the plans because you don't want an argument later. Say what the plans
So
show.
just list the 4 signs after that. Okay.
And then,
Including the dimensions, right?
well, you can reference the dimensions, at least it,
Plan.
Just
Yeah.
yeah, they're all in the plans.
but otherwise, you don't want to get an argument later about 5 signs, 6 signs. Okay, I'm sorry, I skipped. I just think you can word the previous one about lighting better. About dark sky, and then. What I normally see is it's not crazy to allow them to do internally lit signs. Which won't be dark sky. But. You have to have a city official able to say that's too bright. So I would suggest the zoning administrator, somebody, it doesn't have to be us. But. We can't just give them a free pass on internally lit signs or you're gonna get Las Vegas.
Where does it say internally lit signs?
B.
Being,
E,
Oh,
you have to have, you have to, it has to be subject to some review by the zoning administrator for brightness, that's all.
So you're just adding, shall be acceptable to the zoning administrator?
Yeah.
You have it-
Subject to
you have
review by the
it
zoning.
integrated here,
Or-
desi-
Yeah,
Works for-
or subject to review, subject to review and enforcement, or subject to review and approval.
I think just review, I mean, so here's what I wrote and I copied it from the city of Boston, which is pretty liberal on this, but. Subject to review by the zoning administrator to confirm that such internally lit signs are designed so as not to create a hazard or nuisance through excessive brightness. And that bulbs, wires, and other lighting equipment located inside the sign are not visible through the face of the sign. Is that good enough?
Yeah, that's more than good enough. That's great. Good stuff.
Great, other.
Basically, everything highlighted, like beginning with J, we've already addressed at the outset. Is that
Right,
did we
right.
we led with the heavy lift, right?
We did.
Where I was conveniently late to arrive, but
Okay, well, the one where, I wanna be careful is E Edward. Okay, the way it's proposed, it says. The exterior of the building and installation of site amenities shall be, constructed substantially represented in the plans of record. I think that's way too narrow. I mean, the drawings are much broader than just the outside. It's not like it's an historic preservation review where we just looked at the shell of the building. I mean, we're approving a certain number of units, we're approving the,
Material.
so I don't think that's a good idea. I think, all construction of the project has to be substantially as represented in the site. I mean, otherwise it shouldn't be in the plans. I don't want to have adopted plans of record that have no binding effect.
So this
In
is,
all cases, and I have a savings clause consistent with 760 CMR 560511. So, the state has already provided a way that they can differ from the plans if something, they want to, but there's a procedure for that. They're supposed to come back to us and we're supposed to decide whether it's a minor change or a major change. Again, the state laid this all out. But I don't like the language, just the exterior of the building and the site amenities. It's too narrow.
so you delete a few words there, what would you say?
All construction, whether the building, exterior or interior, of on or off-site structures, utilities, or other amenities shall be substantially as represented in the plans of record, consistent with 760 CMR 560511. For example, the layout of the garage. We spent a lot of time with our expert making sure that the layout of the garage works. And this language is proposed wouldn't cover that.
Right, so I think what you've suggested is great. Does anybody have an issue with it?
Well, there's just, I don't know where some of this language came from, but like there's a fair amount of redundancy. In some of these provisions, and like if you go to regulatory conditions. A. Says except as otherwise required by the condition imposed by the comprehensive permit, the project shall be developed, constructed and completed in conformity with the plans of record. I mean, we
We've already
said it, right? And then we come back and we're saying something different, so I mean,
So why repeat it at all then?
why repeat it at all, I
You
guess
don't
my
wanna do
question,
that.
just delete it.
Well, I guess
And I think the other question is, one says in conformance, the other says substantially in conformance, we do both reference.
And this doesn't stop them, by the way, from, for example, when they're actually doing the demising walls. Those could be minor changes. We don't care. It's not material where if the doorknob is here versus there, 2 inches over or 3 feet over. But you get my point.
I do.
Okay.
I'm lost here. I thought what Gareth just said was, we've already said it has to be constructed per the plan. So
Where does it say that?
where does it say that here?
Regulatory, number 1, page 6, or
Page 6.
maybe not 6 on that.
Number one, regulate conditions. Yeah,
Shall be developed, constructed, and completed in conformance with plans of record. Well, then it says in accordance with conditions for modifications as set forth below.
Modifications.
So
Yeah,
what I'm
I
saying
just
is,
delete, I might just delete that.
well, if you wanna cite 760 CMR 560511, they have that right under state law.
Whether we cite it
ahead.
or not.
But otherwise, no, there isn't any pre-approved changes they can make. Otherwise, we've just wasted 6 months. Well, you'll figure that out. We talked about the yellow. Pushing, yeah. Okay, now we can finally, waivers, it should be Arabic 9,
but it's written as 10,
just
just
written as 10,
so we can all follow.
okay. But all this is, this paragraph. Should just reference the list of waivers in exhibit. F.
F, yeah.
I am concerned about this phrase that is in here, which says, unless shown on the plans of record. Because again, that becomes a game. It's like, is there something we missed? Is there, some small font, message, hidden message in the plans of record that grants another waiver? I mean, we know what the waivers are, we're gonna list them. I don't wanna say you get all the waivers in exhibit F and anything that you think is shown on the plans of record. Why would we do that?
So you just want to strike unless shown on the plan of record.
Yeah, I don't see why we would give that.
I think it just depends on how confident you are that everybody, the applicant, the board. We identified every single waiver that was required, all approving the plans, and what kind of, how you want to deal with that. Cause if you miss one, then they've gotta come back.
Well, what could we have missed?
I mean, in your experience, this sometimes happens, people miss one.
Well,
The burden's on the applicant to request the waivers.
that is true.
So I would agree with,
With who?
Jared on
Who
that.
are you agreeing with?
I was just wondering if you wanna, leave it to you, but do you wanna put something
Yeah.
that just says necessary to construct the, as shown on the plans, because given that the board has seen the, line types and features and so forth on the plans, and refer, that as essentially. Meaning, if something was missed somewhere in a listing, somewhere of a waiver that needed to be granted, but
I don't think the regs are written that way. The regs say, they give us a list of waivers. And we decide whether, after a public hearing, whether we grant them. We're granting a whole bunch of waivers.
This is a very common debate in my experience.
Yeah.
And it's just what a board is comfortable with. For some boards will say, look, I wanna get lost in like minutia. We saw the plans, we like the plans, we're good with the plans, and we've approved those plans. And anything that's necessary, you construct those plans. And other boards will be like you're taking, which is they needed to identify all the waivers they needed, and if they.
Let's be honest, this board did not scrutinize all of the plans are extremely detailed. They have hundreds of notes on them. We relied on our experts to read the fine print. We didn't read it.
So it's up to you what your comfort level is for that. You choose.
Okay, well, what do you guys wanna do? I don't wanna give this language.
yeah, I agree with Jared. I mean, for a couple of reasons. One, it's the applicant's obligation. Two, the applicant had very competent counsel. And I'm certain they're all there, and if they're not there, as Stephen whispered in my ear, we will be here.
Okay, come back if there's something they missed.
Got it.
Alright, Arabic 12 permit lapse and change of plans. Um, It's just there's a faulty reference. It's 760 CMR 5605 12, not 13.
I missed that.
I'm surprised you missed that.
And then what I would suggest is, it says the applicant has submitted preliminary site and architectural plans for approval. I wouldn't stop there. I would copy and paste 5611. That's the one about changes.
That's fine.
Just copy and paste it verbatim, so there's no argument. And then, just so you guys know what it is, after the date of the decision, including by order of the hack, if the applicant desires to change the details, it notifies the board. We decide whether it's substantial change or an insubstantial change. And there's a 20-day period where we have to notify the board, the applicant, we think it's substantial, you need to come back. Again, it's all state law. You might as well copy and paste it so we don't argue about it later.
I think that's right too, but there's some other language in here that's not state law.
Yeah, the
An
last,
extension may not be unreasonably withheld, delayed, or denied due to other projects built or approved in the interim. And
yeah, I would strike.
I don't know where that's at.
Yeah, just strike it. I mean, just go with.
Just refer to the regs.
Copy paste.
Okay, same thing with validity and transfer. Just copy and paste from the state regs. The language that's there shall run the land and be binding, blah, blah, blah. Why not just copy and paste from the state reg? And what the state reg says, just for you guys know, prior to substantial completion of the project, the permit can be transferred upon written confirmation from the subsidizing agency, that's the state, that the transferee meets the requirements, and upon written notice to the board and the hack. And then it's the next thing says, state law says, transfer does not itself constitute substantial. So we don't, what they're trying to do is make it easier to transfer. So we can arbitrarily say, oh, we don't like the new developer. And then after substantial completion of the project, comprehensive permit runs with the land. Duh. No. And then as far as signing these things, I know that traditionally our chair signs it. But I think it would be better practice if we all sign it.
I agree. Well, whoever's voting in favor.
I'm fine with that. I should point out just a misspelling of my last name. It's Pitti, but I agree.
Yeah,
with
it's
George.
Champ, not Champ.
We'll make sure that's correct.
I appreciate it. And I guess, yeah, I mean, we should all sign it. I think that's a good idea, just for solidarity.
Yeah.
I like that too.
All right, now the waivers. Finally get to the waivers.
We're on exhibit. Where are we? So you're going to exhibit F?
Yeah, so the introductory sentence, again, I just would copy and paste from 56.057 of the state regs. Just, I don't know why we want to use our own language.
You like these regs better than I do.
Because they're a safe,
I'm joking.
they're a safe harbor. I mean, who's gonna question it? The hack's not gonna say, oh, you quoted our regs. They're not gonna be upset about it. Okay, under Arabic 1, it's just wording, nothing material. We're gonna, it's not a subdivision, but we're signing the A&R. Right. Arabic 2. They asked for a 25% waiver of fees. I haven't heard from Greg Earls that there's a problem with that, so I'm fine with it. That was my only question last time. Nothing has contradicted it, so.
It's awesome.
Do you guys want,
Sure.
do you have any problem with
No.
25% waiver?
We debated that in the last hearing.
It sounds like a standard practice for these things.
It's what the housing appeals committee does when it issues its own decision.
Okay, enough said. All right. Now, three, you know, again, this is, I'm just gonna repeat what I said last time, I don't wanna give a blanket waiver to all of chapter 5, I don't think it's necessary. We are gonna give a waiver to the, soil removal, earth removal, which is Article 7 of chapter 5. And, you know, if there were some other portion of chapter 5 that is a problem, you know, I'd waive that too, but I don't think there is. I think this is just a belt and suspenders ask. And I guess I don't blame them for trying, but I'm not comfortable doing it. Personally, you know, there's 10 articles of that chapter. I haven't read them all. They range from plumbing to condo conversion. So, I don't want to give that waiver.
We discussed this as well. I thought we had agreed that blanket waiver would not.
You did, but nobody came out and
Figure.
said, I've been through chapter 5 and I don't need waivers from any of these, so we're kind of.
Yeah, I don't think it's our obligation to parse through chapter 5, determine what waivers are required for this project. So in that regard, I would agree with Jared. I mean, blanket
Yeah, and I.
waiver just doesn't make sense.
So I proposed language to Garrett, the board denies this request because it finds that no substantial evidence was adduced by any party during the public hearing that such waiver is consistent with local needs and required to permit the construction and operation of the project. The applicant also requested a waiver of Article 7, earth removal of such chapter 5, which is addressed below and granted.
So are you leaving anything in item 3 that we would grant a waiver to?
Well, you tell me, what do you want to,
No.
what do you want to grant? No.
Nothing. I thought you mentioned something about 7 or something.
Oh, so that's
That's it.
later on. Later on.
Oh, later.
Request.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Article 7 and 3. Okay, forget it.
Yeah.
We can do what you want, I don't have confidence that, like, there isn't gonna be some hitch in like, somebody missed a waiver that. I mean, if the applicant's relying on the blanket waiver and we approve plans, there could be an inconsistency between the approved plans and the denied waivers, and people just have, if you're taking the position, it's the applicant's job, then.
We asked them. We
Okay.
asked them. I mean, the other way to go, if you're, you know, Garrett, if you think that, you know, there's some problem, we can go through all 10 articles tonight if you want, one by one. We could, you guys wanna do that?
I agree with Jared that I think it's the applicant's responsibility to note which subsections are necessary as opposed to leaving it, expecting the board to go through that.
Have they ever
Do
do
that
that?
itself.
Have they ever done that? Has the applicant ever indicated which areas of the general?
We had asked for further clarification, I think other as indicated in here, as Jared mentioned, the number 6 deals with one specifically, there wasn't anything else further provided by the applicant to clarify the chapter 5 portion.
Well, the
I
applicant-
don't disagree.
Yes.
It's the applicant's responsibility to identify the waivers it needs. Some applicants will go for the blanket, and if the board says that's not good enough for us, it's the applicant's responsibility to say,
Yeah.
this is what I really need, right? It's just that, as a practical matter.
Right,
If
it's
you
just,
approve certain plans, do you wanna have the applicant come back and say, oh, I missed this waiver?
you could take this to the next
Like
level
you're
and
saying, you do.
you could
Yeah.
take this to the next level and you could simply have a blanket waiver saying, I request a waiver from all
The
zoning.
entire municipal.
Code, I mean, that's
Which I
essentially.
wouldn't recommend either.
Right, so
Sounds like we're good on this.
I think we're good.
Okay,
All right, the number 4, I mean, I thought we were gonna grant it, we're gonna grant the waiver from chapter 17. So, applicant requests and the board grants this waiver from.
Right.
Stormwater management permit application, granted.
So you're okay with it as written?
Well, I reworded it, but just, I mean, that's lawyer stuff, I mean, the sense is no different. They don't wanna have to get a stormwater management permit, we agree.
Right.
We're not gonna make them do it.
this one, at least we have a memo that. Through it.
The next one is the rules, so the stormwater rules, so. And they called out, 4 different subsections of the rules, so permits and procedure, fees. Contour maps and surety. And then what I wrote, again, just to be clear and consistent with the previous Arabic numeral 4. Because the board grants the requested waiver from Article 3 of Chapter 17 under paragraph 5 above, it follows that the above 4 sections do not apply. For the removal of any doubt, the board waives the applicability of those 4 sections. Okay? 6 is a grant, that's Chapter 5, Buildings and Building Regulations, Article 7, earth removal. The applicant requests and the board grants. That's all I gotta say. And then on the zoning ordinance, yeah, all the dimensional thing is in order, it's all in order. My only quibble is that I don't know why you would mention existing, because a lot doesn't exist yet. This is for lots B, A and B. So again, it's just easier for people to figure out later what was granted. So it's depicted, the lot is depicted on the plans, including the final A&R plan. And then those dimensions are all correct, that they've been consistent in their application. For example, not 35 feet, but maximum building height 55 is fine. Parking. Yeah, I mean, it's granted, I remember we specifically asked Kevin and he said it was fine, so we granted. I don't know whether you need to include the argument, you know, as noted, that they're providing a ratio of 1.23. You could specify if you want, but I don't see the point. We have a set number of units. It doesn't really add anything to the ratio. I would just put a period after granted. Signs, we already talked about that. So again, just make sure you know which signs you're waiving. You know, we're not going to review any more of those 4 signs that are approved. Site plan review. I just want to wordsmith it a bit, Garrett, to make clear that the applicant requests a waiver from this section insofar as the plans of record do not meet the performance standards set forth therein, or insofar as the plans do not comply with such section 15 site plan review, including, but not limited to, procedure waivers, materials waivers, narrative waivers, development performance waivers. The board grants a waiver from any requirement the applicant obtain site plan review approval from the Newburyport Planning Board. And then I kept the applicant's, well, actually, it's Andy's summary of the 4 different types of waiver. And then I kept in, you know, the Port Plaza overlay district reference. The applicant requests a waiver, and the board finds the district's not applicable, right? As such, there's no waiver deemed necessary, but it's explained for posterity.
Can I just, something that was dropped from that was from our last meeting on site plan review, that's for lot B and lot A.
Yeah, you have like, you made 2 comments at the last.
Yeah.
Period, I
Yeah.
gotta go back, make sure I got those. They're in my notes.
Thank you.
Right.
Although I think the permit modification language be included.
Yeah, but
covers
it would be a new site plan review, so that's why I added it.
Fair enough. We don't, I mean, there's no intention of making them go through site plan review for lot B, the remainder parcel.
Right.
That's fine.
It's an A&R.
Yeah, well, I know, it's just, we'll write it, Gareth will write it once every way.
I think the one, you know, just to point out, like, when we went. When we started this process, planning staff put together a memo, a really good memo, that had like 10 or so permits that existed for Port Plaza.
Yeah.
And links to the actual plans, and if you look at the plan, because I have them with me, you know, you have the site plans that are obviously different. For like the plaza from what we're approving here, you have the sidewalks, you don't have the parking in the same places, there are changes to these site plans, but. You know, there is a case that says, well, you don't have to do it specifically, the comprehensive permit kind of implicitly modifies those. I wouldn't want to rely on that, so we did add language. saying
Yeah, no, I agree.
We're clearly doing. that.
We agree with you. We agree with you. We have no intent of trying to.
Yeah.
But
But I do think that I added that when I do the captures, the additional waivers.
Turned off.
But we can add the language, it's not a big deal, don't suspend someone.
You almost done?
Yeah.
And then, the final thing is just to carefully word Arabic numeral 9 about the sewer privilege fee. I just want to track what, Gareth, what your advice was in your memo. So what I wrote, because I think that's what it said. The applicant requests a waiver of said fees consistent with both the development agreement and the vote of the Newburyport Water and Sewer Commission on October 30th, 2024. The board declines to grant such waiver because the sewer privilege fee has already been abated. That was the word he used in there.
That was,
By vote of the Water and Sewer Commission, making action by the board moot, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that works. Okay.
Anything else?
Well, Garrett, I just want to say, Jared, it's a pleasure. We have not just one lawyer we're paying for, we have another one over here. And
That we're not paying for.
no, seriously, I really appreciate you going through all this.
Yeah.
I don't know, sometimes having more than one lawyer working something can not to be a headache, but
Well-
I think in this case, it's great.
Do you have time to turn this thing around so we get to see it before Wednesday night?
Well, we do, I mean, let's be clear, like most of the drafting here is on Andy, and most of this is Andy's work, right?
All right, then I asked the wrong person.
No, I'm just saying, I do have time to make these changes, like, they clean it up, or something we had before. I won't say anything you need to do that, I'm just saying,
No, it's all right.
he did the bulk of the drafting on this, and I had to change.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think we've gone a little like around between the baseline splits, they'll be prepared. They're having covered a fair amount of ground this evening with this, and then of course, if they're taking that look, there might be we're thinking perhaps in there.
yeah, I
Some
think
details that we can plug in there.
if you could like do the details, like the.
Yeah. The
Like,
space.
the plans, anything that refers to the plans, number of spaces, like.
Right.
The planning stuff, and
Right.
I'll take a shot from it.
And just to the detail, are you gonna recirculate this as a red line document?
Yes.
So, yes.
Good. I had one just kind of general question. There's a term, regulatory agreement,
Yes.
that pops up like 10 times, but I don't think it's ever defined, but maybe it is.
It's a term of art.
Okay.
Because it's what the subsidizing agency, will require to be recorded with the registry of deeds. To ensure that, the affordable unit.
Yeah, that part is-
Affordable.
that
Make
part
it
is
like
set forth.
affordable. Yeah, that's what
Okay.
the regulatory.
Okay.
If you
not
want
an
us to define it.
existing- yeah.
It's commonly accepted.
It-
You don't
it's-
need to-
Okay, oh,
Yeah,
I'd say it's like an industry term.
yeah, okay, fair enough, fair enough.
Do any other board members have any other suggestions or changes on this document?
I do not.
And Robin, if you're still hearing, remember,
I'm here. Yeah, I've been following along. I have to absolutely echo I think our collective sentiments with the great deal of appreciation for Jared for taking taking the lead, being the outside penguin to say the least, and going through this line by line. It's great first draft. And Andy, you and Gareth have done a great job. And I guess Andy, it's principally your initial draft work. So thank you for what is a mind-numbing amount of time that must have gone into it, that to allow us to sort of synthesize it. As much time as we took tonight, it's still efficient to say the least. So I have nothing further. It's great collaboration tonight. Sorry, I was
So-
late
so our-
on this call.
Like
Yeah,
I said,
no,
he said this at 3 a.m., so he was looking hard to get that first draft out.
Self-play. and-
so from here, Andy, with some help from Gareth over here, you're gonna turn around this document and send it back to us for.
Yeah, I had a question actually about that in terms of the format for the board to see the next time around. So is the board interested in seeing every markup, including what we've discussed this evening on that, or just the changes since what we've discussed this evening? I just want to make sure we're clear about.
I think it should be, I think we should do it. First of all, I think it's mostly on me on the next one, except.
Understood, yeah.
I think it's
if
gotta
you're-
be a
yeah.
red line against what is currently posted, or what was distributed.
That's why I think.
And then I think we should have like a few bullet points, which I will take care of, just summarizing.
You should have one, I'm sorry.
Few bullet points summarizing any changes that
Okay,
That makes sense.
but you're gonna take basically this 31-page document and redline the whole thing. and
Yeah,
send it
so there'll be
back.
markup shown on top of this, that's what I want, my preference there is the same, was sort of all changes collectively are shown on this version, so that when you're coming out of that, I don't know. To me, it makes almost sense, I'll leave it to you whether you care about it, but whether or not we're actually simultaneously producing a quote clean copy of that versus.
We should.
So I think my thing is we sort of have both the clean and the markup.
Yeah, bring them both, you may get lucky and we'll sign it. But I guess my question is, what happens if we go through another 3 hours Wednesday night, going through, I mean.
We sit here and we type it out for us, bring a printer.
Based on what we've discussed, this evening, then we should be in that situation.
No, if I think come Wednesday night, we can go through it quickly. If there are any changes, spot changes, we just make them right there.
Yeah,
We rewrite it in, we say you vote subject to specific changes. And then we make the changes and you come in and sign it.
And
Sign it right there. Or you could sign the pages and we can hold them in escrow until you.
Oh, yeah, have the, breakaway things.
So we sign this version that's got some markups on it, do we ever go find?
no, we've signed the clean one, we've signed the clean version.
The vote is taken subject to the modification.
No, I understand, but what if there's no clean version, because there's still some changes somebody's gotta go make the next day?
Because what we will do is we'll say signature pages on the next page and you can sign it.
Right.
You will hold on to it until you
Yeah.
sign it.
All right.
They make it come in. on
Actually, yes,
Thursday.
no, I've done that in the past too, so.
I already offered, we have to file this on Sunday, so if the city clerk wants to come in, you guys wanna come in and sign on Sunday, we can do that.
No, I like the clean page idea, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
Andrew, just as there's not a printer in this building, do you have access to?
well, we'd have to arrange that in advance, for what you mean.
I'll bring Bring a clean page. just a
Yeah,
page.
no, I agree with Eric on this, and especially
Yeah.
since at this point, it's, I think we have would be minor.
just-
I'll bring one.
We should just have a separate signature page with us.
Yeah,
We do deals for people in India. This is how we deal with it, right?
all right, so, for the gentleman that joined us, well, this is not a public hearing, we're just discussing what conclusions we're gonna come up with on the Kmart project, the Plaza Lending project. So that's why we're not asking for input from anybody, we're just deliberating on how to get through all this stuff. So are we done with agenda item 2A, the deliberations? Does anybody else have anything else to say? All right, we're done with it. So that gets us to other updates from the chair of planning board. We also have a minutes we could approve too. I don't know if you want to do that.
No, actually, you'll be here,
You can do that
tomorrow, so.
We'll do that
Other
tomorrow.
matters, other matters, yeah, and that'll be on your agenda.
All right, so that's tomorrow. So there's no, I still don't have an input. So I think we're done. We're looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
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 It is unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you, gentlemen.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you.
Well.